What's good, great people? I am Ezel Moon, and I have a special guest in the building today. Dr. Cherlisa Jackson shall be joining me for a frank conversation. I want to give a big shout out to the rest of my people at He Said What Network. Thank y'all so much for continuing to rock with me, and also all those that are part of Easy Nation. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And yeah, man, I'm wearing black on black, like I ain't got AC on in the back. Play the intro. Hello, hello.
Hello. I got black too. Like I ain't got an AC on in the back.
Let me ask you a question. Do you keep your AC on in the 60s or in the 70s?
Ooh, I'm a 70s. Oh, I'm all 70s.
74?
74 on the nose. Exact number.
Same thing. Does it go lower when you sleep, or you just leave it?
I leave it on, and then I have like this little itty bitty fan, or it'd be maybe even ceiling fan to keep warmth circulating, a certain kind of air, but not to be too cold to where you're congested. Yes, amazing.
I know, man. I know. And every now and again, you get the one leg out, one leg on the floor, roll over. Yeah,
a little bit toe,
little something. You dig?
That's funny.
Relationship and sex therapist, published author, lady of Zeta Phi Beta. Shout out to the Zetas. And if I'm not mistaken, origin is Kansas City,
Missouri. That's right.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, why the transition? Kansas City to Atlanta. Talk to me about this. What was the point? What were we doing with this one?
Great question. Now, if you've ever visited Kansas City, or if you have never visited Kansas City, it's a very small town. So it has a lot of different history, jazz, mafia life, barbecue. Barbecue is just kind of the big thing. And then there's what the African American Negro League Museum actually really is what it's turned into. And a lot of different things, including the Chiefs and the Royals. But still doesn't make it a big city. It's very small. So when you try to do advancement, you try to become something more, you're not going to succeed very well. You're going to have these really small pockets in which you can do. And if you try to do anything entrepreneurship, it's not that you won't have support, but the city is so redlined and there's no spaces of Black affluence. So if you have a Black owned business and you're looking for some sort of boom for that, there's a lot of businesses that go under because you need an actual population clustered together, kind of like Atlanta already has, to where you can have people checking in and wanting your product and selling it to them, and it being a big deal. So when I tried to do me in Kansas City and boom and glow and do all these things, I was like, this is a retirement town. This is where you go to after it's already happened. This isn't the place that you go to try and get it going. So that's actually why I needed to be here. And I have loved every minute of it.
Okay. I feel you now. It's stepping into your power inside of Atlanta. They say that that's actually like supposed to be the new Wakanda.
Yeah. I'm hearing this.
And oddly enough, I moved to the DMV to be around, the affluent African Americans within, Prince George's County. And I've been learning so much about this area. You said Kansas City, Missouri in general is known for barbecue.
Gates used to be the spot where most people knew that they could go to, and they franchised some things.
Okay.
So of course, like once you start getting their own barbecue sauce on the market, then you loosen up a little bit, but it's still a place to go, and it's something that I would recommend. And on the Kansas side, which is just like 2 feet away, and I know that's a whole other conversation of why there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City,
Kansas City. I was going to the next question.
It's a water line thing. So,
Yeah.
and just brief history randomly, it's there's a spot where the water touches between Missouri and Kansas, and they named it something that there's a spot literally in the middle where it names. And so there's Kansas City is what they named it between Missouri and Kansas. It just so happens to be where the water line is called Confluence Water Line. And so that's why there's literally two. And so you can cross over into Kansas 2 minutes from Kansas City, Missouri. And it's just set up that way. The city is very interesting. So Missouri, not Kansas.
That's very, very intriguing. Honestly, I was gonna say something about barbecue. I was gonna try to let you know, what I'm saying, Texas got the best
I
barbecue.
knew he was gonna tell me something about
what I'm saying? Because I'm
just
ma'am, I just had to let you know. Texas.
Might be close.
You're literally looking at somebody that has astute knowledge of the grill, and not just on some bruh stuff, on some I mean, if I want to, you can throw me a calibu and I'll throw it on the grill and I'll serve it to you, and you'll be like, wow.
So you're a chef. You're a pit master.
Grill master, you did. Let me pop my collar 2 times.
Yes.
But I did want to get into you. As I sat back and did my research, you've done some things, right? You served clients in psychiatric care for over 16 years, facilitated psychosexual trauma systems therapy for over 9 years, led couples and family therapy for over 8 years, and you've been actively working with HIV prevention and sexual health education of other STIs and diseases for over 8 years. And I really, really just wanted to get more of an understanding of what the genesis was for you stepping into that field, and what about the work keeps you engaged in the field. What is it that says, hey, you know what, I really, really want to keep doing this?
Amazing question, honestly, and it's so broad. So what I'll do is I'll kind of just shrink it down to psychology was not a thing I wanted to start. I don't know many people who just really have a cool understanding of what they want to do, like really what they want to do, not what their parents told them to do, not what they read about and said, "Ooh, I want to do that," but like really know what they want to do until after they probably are already starting their coursework or maybe after they're done. And so when I got into psychology in Kansas City, most of what you could do was psychiatric work. So psychiatric hospitals, working in some sort of counseling space where it's substance abuse treatment or something where it was just psychiatric anything. And you couldn't really become a therapist without having the proper paperwork signed where someone would actually allow you to come in, sign it off and say, we will allow you to work towards your licensure hours. That's just kind of how the paperwork is set up. And that's just worldwide. And so if you don't really get that, then you just have to kind of fall into something. And luckily, because it was just kind of available, I started to work from psychiatric hospital to psychiatric hospital. And I started to want to do counseling. And in the transition of just figuring out what it was, I didn't want to be the traditional person where you just sit on a couch and you have this, tell me how that makes you feel. I was like, this ain't gonna reach my people. We barely want to come to do therapy in the first place. And you just sit back and be like, tell me how that, no. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out something that's going to actually reach people and want to, I don't know, change the world really, but not so utopic that we can't really reach everybody's, right? So I kept going and figured out, well, Kansas City, I can't do what I'm really trying to do, which was sexual health, unless I was around some sort of organization that really only had a limited number of people you could get into. So I wanted to come to Atlanta with that in mind and had no idea about the disproportionate rates until I got here. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I used to work for Fulton County Health Department, and I used to draw the blood. I used to give the results. I used to go to the houses and knock on the doors and tell people, this is what's going on, or people would have to come in and I have to counsel them for that. And after I started to see, okay, not only can I do counseling and do the psychology part of it, not only can I do the public health side of it, but I wanted to figure out, how do I do health education and promotion? So not only do we need to know that there's mental health attached to public health issues, but how do we make behavior change? And so when I got into it, I started to figure out the one link between everything was that your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself impacts literally everything you get into. So all the sexual decisions that are happening, all of the neglect, all of the rejection, all of the different relationships that you're a part of, if you don't really feel a certain kind of way about yourself, psychology part, right? You're not going to make the best informed decisions. So I keep going after having an understanding of that, and every single person that I connect with, where I continue to see this pattern, I'm like, oh, this is what keeps me in it. And this is what has me going. So the podcast, sparked from that. Finishing the book started from that. And so it just has allowed me to flourish my practice and see people with this exact link of humble beginnings of psychology, and then turning it into public health, becoming, this now, oh, we just discovered that mental health is a problem. Like it's been an issue. We just haven't been focusing on it until the pandemic happened. And then people were like, oh, you're stuck in your house. And now you have all of these different ideas and worries and anxiety moments and depression. And so what do we do about that? And so that's kind of where I come into play. And people like me who have been clinicians or who are interested in psychology, we saw the boom happen twice as much, but it wasn't new. And so for individuals like us, where we've seen this be a part of, our daily lives, it has now been a focus to impact the individuals who don't think they need therapy, i.e. our cultural group. And I'm trying to reach us the most right now.
It's amazing that you're able to do that within your field, really reach us as a people. But I want to turn to something just a little bit, focus more internal really fast. You once said that to a question, you're like, hey, what's something that you had to unlearn? Your response was, I'm currently unlearning anything and everything that was created from systemic trauma, microaggressions, and generational curses. I wonder for you, what are some of the generational curses that you are currently breaking, or something that you have in fact separated yourself from?
The biggest thing for me is a spiritual trauma. So there's a lot of different things underneath our belt that we don't know come from one little book. Right. And so when it comes to the dynamic of what a woman is supposed to do in her life, I'm breaking all of that because I don't have the children a certain kind of way. I don't have the marriage a certain kind of way. I'm a certain age. And so this dynamic, when people say, who are you? You're not a real woman. It comes from this idea that you should have already had your kids by now, and that is your worth, that you should not be worried about your career and all these different things. So I'm an anomaly. And there's a lot of women out there that represent a certain kind of thing, but they have this spiritual shame of, we've been taught that this is our worth, and there isn't a whole lot that comes from anything else. And so when you actually break that and you understand, okay, well, there are individuals that may or may not have already had children, but we don't ever ask that. They may have lost their child to war, or they could be a widow or whatever. But the first thought is, I don't see it. It's not posted. So you're breaking all these norms. And unfortunately, it does come from how we're raised. That's just where it starts. And in our culture, we already understand that you were in a church probably for 5 hours every Sunday, and you had a revival on this day and Bible study on this day. And
we got this, and then vacation Bible school during the summer.
Exactly. You didn't know anything else. And so because of that, there's so many systems of who we are and how we identify, including how therapy is so detrimental because you need to pray it away. You'll be fine. There's no reason. We're not crazy. All those dynamics come from that. So me unlearning that, you know what, it's okay that the societal structures and milestones are not a part of what you do daily. It's okay that there's something else that you're trying to understand about yourself. Your spiritual wellness is a completely different thing than religion. So you only learn about your flesh when you're religious, and you don't really understand your spirituality or how to connect with yourself on the inside and what happens to you post flesh and all these other different ideas. And so you don't really get a chance to connect with your mental health. You don't really know how to talk about your inner child. And that's not something that happens. So me unlearning systemically from not only our religious structures, but societal structures. What's a Black woman supposed to be below everybody else and accomplishing far less and being paid far less while doing twice as much? And the only time that we're ever seen for anything else is when we are mothers and when we are wives. And so I think that that's a big part of it too, is there's systemic things that have limited me, and people that are constantly telling me about my value and how it's less than just because I don't fit into a box. And so I really want to break that and help the other individuals who are like, I really do want children. This is just what this looks like for me now. I do want to have a marriage. This is just what this looks like for me now. And why can't I help to be a power couple? Why do I have to do it this way? Why 5 days after graduation, I got to hurry up and get a husband and kid? Like my mindset of 18 and then like the idea, and I know any woman who's hearing this is like, I had the idea that I was going to be married and have kids by like 23. I don't know about you, but 5 years after a K through 12 of us not knowing anything about ourselves, we learned math and social studies and history things and maybe 3 branches of government. I didn't learn social skills. I didn't learn mental health. I didn't learn anything to be able to manage a household. But within 5 years, I was supposed to be a wife and a mom. I don't know if I would have done the greatest job because there's so many things I didn't know. And of course, that's the story that many people tell you is, you know, I did the best I could and there's all these things that weren't available. And I just didn't want to be in that lane when I could have figured me out. I was like, I just want to know who I am. I just figured out that I graduated and now there's like something else other than Christianity. Oh, this wasn't taught to me, right?
There's more.
There's more to life. And you're in a box based upon TV and what people tell you. So family dynamics, generational curses, things that we keep passing down to people, things that you're just taking because mama and them did it. And you don't really take the time to ask the questions and push the envelope. And so now that's what I'm choosing to do. I'm trying to figure out, well, what is it that they didn't know and they were not able to ask? What happened to their voices and why were they taken so that what you got as information was really the best that they knew how to research? And if you have stuff that's missing, you know, could you put your parents on game of stuff that they may have not known? And so again, I don't know about you, but the baby boomer generations and anybody before it, they don't go to medical providers and they don't trust healthcare providers and they're not looking at mental health, like stuff that, you know, they passed down to us. And I'm like, okay, well, there is information. We just haven't been exposed to it. So that is absolutely the lane that I'm in right now, unlearning and relearning.
You know, it's amazing that you say that because, you know, there are still things in my own life that I'm trying to unlearn and, you know, learn. And, you know, even in my early 30s, I'm still trying to figure out about myself, you know. I just recently had a very negative experience in regards to like, you know, in regards to like me consuming alcohol. And I'm really like trying to figure out, hey, well, who exactly am I when, you know, when I'm under the influence? And so it's interesting because I mentioned this before once, right? And I said, you know, I saw a post where they said, if you could watch your childhood on like as like a movie, you would be able to, you would understand why you take some of the actions that you take today. That's and so true. I've been really intrigued by it, and shout out to my therapist. He's been doing a great job. I'm very thankful for him. But you know, that's besides the point. I actually want to go just a little bit further. When it comes to you, you know, when you take away the accolades, the education, the you know, the last name, who do you say that you are?
Phenomenal. And I am grateful that you asked that because that is a question I have asked me within the last 3 years. And I've had to ask the previous version of me if I think that that person would be proud of me. Because taking away all the accolades and things that existed before that person existed, really, and then when they existed, maybe say like my 8-year-old self, I tried to go back into what that person thought of me, thought of us. And I don't really think that we were like, oh, I want to be out here with a bunch of degrees and certification. Like we were just trying to exist and to be. And so who I am, I'm a free spirit. And I think a lot of people say that, but I genuinely think like, yes, I want to have energy. I don't know if you're familiar with life path numbers or zodiacs and all that stuff, but I'm a 9, right? And I'm probably at the.
Oh, I'm a 3.
You're a 3. Oh, okay, come on, 3. Yes. And so my entire role right now is information. The entire point of my life is inspiration and information. And so because of that, I want to be that for myself. I want to actually unlearning things, but I also want to tap into what I thought I was before the world got a hold of me. So who I am now is this learner, this effervescence. I used to dim my light because it made people uncomfortable when I walked in the room. And so now I am light. And I didn't used to claim that for myself. I'm like, nope. Everybody in here is looking at you weird because you're goofy and you're laughing, and we're not doing that. So you need to sit down somewhere, right? And so I'm like, oh man, I can't be in these rooms. Or you find yourself in rooms where you're dumbing it down, or you're high hanging fruit and you're chopping that branch down a little bit so it can be more accessible for somebody to reach, when really you just need to let someone who has the capacity to understand you and hear you and learn you be able to reach it. Just give that to yourself. And so now, taking away everything and who would I actually be? I write, singing. I'm a person who just likes to understand every single thing in life, but not to become this expert of all things. But I think it cuts your learning curve quite a bit. So I'm a learner at heart. And it's kind of like if you were to walk up to any person, I think if we're thinking Matrix life, right? You walk up to someone and you touch them on their shoulder. It's like you're downloading all their information, because they've taken 20, 30 years to learn all this stuff. It's a lot easier to sit down with someone and hear what they have to say, not challenge their perspectives and talk about how dumb they are, but really genuinely just take the seat and say, hey, what do you know? Because you could teach me something. You could help me not have to Google down a rabbit hole because you've already given me information to start with. And so a learner at heart, I like to perpetuate new information for individuals to learn. We don't know nothing, and we don't understand what we don't know. So we don't even know what to ask. And so I love to run into new individuals and ask information I don't know and be like, dang, there's a part of me that thought I was complete with this viewpoint. And now you've given me something new to think about. So outside of having any degree attached to that, I love to just be around individuals who can tell me more about who I am. Parts of me that are in the bottom of an ocean somewhere I'll never know. Individuals who can actually enlighten me about where I'm going, where I think I may have known by now, and all the different parts of what made my inner child. Very excited to get to grow up and become whoever. I constantly talk to her. I don't know last time you've actually looked yourself in the mirror and just actually stared yourself in the eyes. It can be very intimate and very intimidating, but I've done that and said, I'm proud of you. I'm actually proud of you. We have done quite a bit. And there are times where every time I was talking to this version of me now in my 30s, you overheard all of those negative things. So I was also talking to you whenever I was downing me. So I like to talk to her now and give gratitude because we still exist. Even when we grow and older, get to 50, 100, whatever, you still have that inner version of you that hears everything you say. So when you're mean to that person, you take that person along with you, and you still have to go back and claim that person and bring them forward and provide certain peace. And if you're not doing that, that person gets to hear all of your negative stuff too. And you wouldn't sit next to a 5-year-old and be like, that's dumb, you're stupid. So if you're saying those things to yourself now, that's something to rethink. So that's who I am now. I'm a person who is trying to unlearn the pain that I caused that version of me by she experiencing everything I'm going through right now and being like, dang, let me do it as if you're watching me. You do a little different when you got an observer. Somebody's recording you or, monitoring you, your behavior's a little different. So now I choose to act like I have an inner child looking at me all the time.
Wow. That is I'm going to use that. I use my actual baby. He's as the one that's watching me all the time. But it's like, when he's not around, that's very astute. The last time I stared at myself in the eyes, I started crying. And I stopped looking in the mirror.
You will do that.
I said, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I started apologizing. I had a heart-to-heart. Cut the commercial. Cut the commercial. No, but I was no, I'm joking. Don't do that. She took the banner off and everything. No, but when I really did, and the thing is, what I came to understand through that moment was that the work is forever. Like it is up until the day that you expire, the work is forever. And as you believe that you are healing something and you feel like you have finished working on a certain part of you, so there's something else about yourself that is like, hey, this needs attention. And the thing is, so you may have like outlined a goal for yourself, saying, hey, I'm gonna get this fixed about myself. I'm not gonna do this no more. Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I do this even more. Yeah. And even if you have the most stringent of goals for yourself, the work does not end. There's always gonna be something to fix.
Facts.
And the thing is that, you know, like, there's no real defined perfect version of ourselves. It's just only a better version, you know. And so it's just dependent upon you whether or not you want to always continue to evolve into a better version of yourself. And I think that it's intriguing to me that even as I say this to you, I still deal with the fact that I negative self-talk so much. It doesn't matter what anybody else will say about my mistakes. It's me. I kill myself over the things that I say. Like literally with the things that I say, like I could speak life into the world. I do it on a daily basis. but when it comes to, like, you know, me dealing with me making mistakes, it's not good. Like, no one should hear that. And you're right. I wouldn't say it to a 5-year-old. I don't talk to my son like you. What is, you know, all of that rah. The things I say to my son, I would never say that to my son. You know, so it's interesting that is. Oh wow, yeah, I gotta be nicer to my inner child.
Mm-hmm. You're conditioned to be performance driven. That's just what we're taught. Everything is straight to the point. You know, get this job, get this wife, get this husband, get this child, get this whatever. Here's your retirement, and now you're gone. It's linear. We're not taught about the dips. And so sometimes when we see those little memes that talk about success really looks like this, you can been taught about a straight line. That's why it feels like that, because you won't know not to be in imposter syndrome. That's just what we know. We know to be perfect. We know to get it right on the first try. We know to work by ourselves until we burn out. We know to pack on more on our plate, way more than anything. And we know to just literally be these people who are constantly seeking the most perfection, certification, to be the smartest in the room. Like, that's how we're conditioned. So it'll be really hard for you to take a break and not feel guilty for inactivity. That's why sitting there and sitting still and being like, dang, you've done a really good job. You're like, no, I didn't, because I got all this stuff to do still. And you don't know how to sit in those spaces. Mindfulness is really hard for our capitalistic culture. It's not going to change because we're not changing the culture. So most people are going to have self-talk that's negative and self-deprecation that just fits that. That's exactly why it exists. Perfectly.
What is a step in the right direction for the culture then? You know, so you know, because capitalism runs America and honestly touches on a bunch of different areas and societies that you know, in other countries, right? But so what exactly would be a step in the right direction? And literally, as when we say culture, I truly honestly believe that our culture, you know, is what inspires everything else. You know, and it's clear that we're the ones that set that trend. So before we do go to an actual commercial, I do want to leave you with that question. And when we come back, you know, you can definitely tackle it. What exactly would be a step in the right direction for our culture so that we could see the necessary change that we need, so that, you know, we can have a revolution of the mind, you know, in a sense. We'll cut to a quick commercial break really fast. Thank you so much. I'm enjoying this conversation. I hope you are too. For those of y'all who are tuning in, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Commercial.
What is a travel specialist? A travel specialist is your gateway to the world. Our goal is to provide you with a stress-free experience so you can focus on creating memories that last a lifetime. Experience a better way to vacation by trusting a Luke Sivo Vacations travel specialist to handle all the details for you. Contact Joanne Gaines at 888-227-6607, extension 5447, and start creating your memories today.
That's amazing that we are back. We are here. We are going to continue this conversation. I want to give a big shout out to anybody that took the GRE. Shout out to you. Yeah. I was like looking at my notes. I'm like, GRE. I was like 800. I was like, oh, yo.
I didn't get anywhere near that.
Let me tell you what I didn't do.
Yeah,
I ain't take that.
Yeah, I can be honest. That was not.
I'm gonna be real with you. I did not take that. I was like, I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna make a way to get this master some kind of way. We're gonna figure this out. Like, but no. Where were we? Oh yes. What's the step in the right direction for the culture?
So there's many steps, but the two that come to mind at the top of the list is therapy. You could guess that's going to be an answer. And then also learning that resiliency is not always our friend. We do not know how to put ourselves on the front burner. That's just something that we were not taught. We've been living in survival mode just because that's what we know. And we are products of survival mode. And so if you, again, that generational learning that you constantly grind it out and you work, 40-hour plus days and you got to have 3 different jobs and like all these different moments of stretching yourself thin where you don't talk about self-care. And in a Black community specifically, that has not been ever a conversation other than recently because we live a back burner life. Everybody gets everything first. And there isn't a moment where you understand or take the time to understand that because of living in survival mode, your needs are not being met. Your quality of life is a certain kind of way. And if you never get to a therapy environment to discuss the impact of what has been happening before you got here at all, there's epigenetic life and generational patterns that you have had endured as a secondary trauma before you even know or recognize that it's happening. And so all those different conversations, all those experiences you see on TV, all the bodies, the Black experiences, and then you're not ever processing that. You know how many people we lose and then we're just like, go back to work, go back to school. It's okay. I don't know if that's the smartest thing for us to do, to not actually take moments of grief and say, hey, it's okay that this hurts. It's okay if it pushes us to an activity. It doesn't mean we're losing something. We don't need to be worried about going back to work. We need to actually be talking about it. And we don't decompress in that way. And every single pattern, even down to whooping kids, has come from something that we're not even addressing. Like, why would I endure the exact same thing that other individuals have been doing? Now, of course, we're all a product of that. So I can't be like, okay, well, but it's something that now in this day and age, we're understanding what that's doing. And the people that get into therapy are talking about, did I really change? Was I better? Or did I just fear my parents? If we keep thinking about what we're doing and trying to perpetuate it, being like, well, that's just what we know. That's what we do. You got to go through therapy somewhere, whether that's actually having a therapist, recognizing that you don't have to be crazy. Things don't have to be falling apart. You're just talking about something that's subconsciously happening. Your entire life was doing things before you got here. And if you never take the time to discuss your mental health or put yourself on a front burner and think that you deserve it, then it would be really hard to take a break. To your previous point of saying, I just talk negatively to me all the time. Well, yeah, it's going to happen because you're going to keep hearing the narratives that were geared towards you. You have not ever been given Black people are powerful unless it comes from us trying to tell each other that it's powerful. But the society is not saying that. That's not a common message that's happening. And even outside of, if it's BIPOC population at all, just individuals in general don't get to hear how uplifted they should be and amazing that they are. And it's okay that you're just enough. It's constantly like, you could be improving. You stink at this, go in and fix this. And we're not ever really hearing how powerful we are just as individuals at a standstill. So I definitely hear therapeutically, we should be involved somehow. Talk to a therapist, period. You will be so surprised after you have a few sessions with someone who will have you talking about something. You'll be like, I didn't even know that was a problem. I know. I know, because we have layered it with productivity and we keep going, and resiliency is not always our friend. And we make resiliency the thing, grind mode and hustle mode. And, oh, I'll sleep when I die. Like that kind of, you have to rest. Anything that works has to rest. Your phone charges, like you turn your car off and fuel it and take care of it. Like anything in motion has to rest. Even growth of a plant, there are periods of rest. So you're not some mechanical robot, and we treat ourselves that way. So I really think that most people need to find some sort of therapeutic intervention. Doesn't have to be on a couch. You don't have to, just figure something out to work through your self-care. And then also understanding when to take breaks and manage your time so that you can. Yeah.
Man, you were killing this. I wanted to dive a little bit into, so when was the last time you cried and why?
Ooh, recently, and it was a conversation of me actually finding gratitude, being okay with who I am, and actually releasing. And technically, when I released the book. So as of, this particular month, I now have it, as you outlined, that there's an authordom that has happened. And I cried because of it, because the story that's in it is me finally like making peace with telling people something that you naturally suffer in silence about, or you're ashamed about. And whenever you get to the point of having a platform to talk about stuff, whether it's, through a podcast, whether it's through this network that we're doing right here, whether it's to just get on Instagram and make a video, or you make a book, whatever it is, you're releasing parts of you. And so that moment that I actually got a chance to just be like, I'm not afraid of this story anymore, I can talk about it openly, I felt very proud of me for actually making peace with it.
I was honestly going to want to talk about that as well. And for those who do not know, you have a book entitled "Empowering the Broken." Powerful title, by the way. And it goes over you surviving a physically, financially, and emotionally violent romantic relationship. The vulnerability that it took to put words to paper, and talk to us about stepping into that mode, and who you are now versus then.
Ooh, that's so loaded. And you know what? It took 6 years to actually have the courage to finalize it, publish it, go through and read it, because you don't just write it and then you're done. You got to reread it. You got to look for edits. You have to keep rereading this account. And it took me a minute to actually be able to say, okay, not only did it happen, but did I think that it happened? Because you're gaslit into certain areas to just think certain things about yourself a lot. So whether that's unlearning things from your family, unlearning things from society, anything that you try to make peace with and grieve, you have to go back through and be like, did I make this up? Hold on. Did this really happen? Is this really that severe? And when you do, then you get an opportunity to say, okay, now I'm ready to maybe address it with myself. Can't probably tell other people yet, but let me talk about it with me. And so the process of actually sitting down and writing it, I wrote something in 2016, but it wasn't ready because I had just been all over the place with my thoughts, and I didn't really have enough to put out. I didn't have a publisher. And so I just kind of left it on shelf and just was like, all right. But I went to an event, and it was a skating event. And I just so happened to meet the publisher behind me because I was trying to skate and I was falling. And I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. It's been 20 years. Let me just stand over here. And so I sparked a conversation with the same person's experience that I was having. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to sit over here too. And so we just started talking. And she's like, I officiate. And that's, a side thing of what I do. But I'm also a publisher. And I was like, what? Because I had just meditated and prayed on, I need some help to get this book out. Now I'm ready. I want to be able to do this. This was in January. And it just so happened to be in the same room a few days after I had just asked about it. So then being able to walk through it, have someone edit it to give me different ideas and insight and feedback, it was very helpful. But I had to be able to make peace with that version of me, because you can't write anything saying you have wisdom if you're still angry. And if you don't make peace with what happened, then you giving some sort of advice or suggestions or just a perspective at all, you're going to be coming from a place of being still hurt. And I don't want anyone to read words of empowerment and trying to make your lives different if I'm still struggling to make peace. Then I don't need to release it. I don't need to be helping you grieve if I'm still tripping, right? And so it's not to say, like to your previous point, healing is a lifelong thing, but you do have to get to a point where the story no longer has power over you. And until you get there, then you're not really healing that part, right? And so there's a lot of things that we think healed is like, I'm done, I'm healed, I'm a great person, but you heal in pieces. You will not ever heal the whole all at once, and you will continue to live your life, and something new will be a memory. And so as I'm writing it, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that part, or I could have left that in there, you know, and or, oh, I took that out. I completely forgot. And so that's what trauma does. You have these blocks and you compartmentalize to keep yourself alive. Your brain does stuff to help you focus. If you really think that you can uncover everything and heal it overnight, you're sorely mistaken, because you'll be left raw. You've lived, 30 years of experiences, 365 days times 30, like how many days you have taken in information and sensory and all sorts of stuff. And if you were to just peel back layers all at once, you can't handle that. So your brain does quite a bit in blocking out certain memories and things for you until you're actually ready to confront it. And so a lot of people in therapy, they figure this out too, where they're like, I'm fine, I'm good. Okay, I've gotten this one little area clean on the carpet. It's a bunch of little spots, and I took this little spot and I cleaned it and it's great. And then all of a sudden you find another spot and you're like, oh, I'm so bothered by that. And it's like, yes, because now you've got coping skills and you've got things in place to actually come and work on the stuff underneath that. Then you peel that layer back, and then you get the coping skills to peel another layer back. And so you have to keep building your strength, almost like your weight training with your trauma. So if you actually build up enough strength to keep peeling back layers, then you're going to get a healed product. And that's exactly what it took me to a lot of years to actually unlearn some stuff that I was like, vulnerability and trauma and this. And I'm like, no way. Tried to still date, but I was doing I have a type and picking broken people because I hadn't really made peace with the fact that I could be picking something that reminds me of being afraid or still trying to relive certain parts of things I want to avoid. And you just got to figure out how to grieve a loss of yourself. And when you do that, then you can probably tell your story a lot better than just, I have something to say, but you're not ready.
You so many things that you say within your answers are like they gel with a mindset that I'm developing through going to therapy, and as well as like, you know, cause for me to really analyze like my own mind and you know, the mental backflips that I do to cope with certain things. Like there's so many actions that I guess that I just feel like I don't want to remember, you know, and so it's like, oh my God, you know, like this, you know, like even hearing people describe them to me, I'm like, you know, I immediately want to, you know, cover my ears and run away. But it's like you have to, the hardest thing ever is literally facing who you were at certain points in your life, you know. How do you deal, you know, you've described so many different ways, but I wonder, you know, like, how do you keep your demeanor, you know, because to me, it's amazing it's amazing to, you know, I feel like you're someone who, whenever people are around, like, oh my God, it's great to have her here. Like this energy, we need that, you know. How do you keep your demeanor?
I have deal breakers and triggers I've identified now. Mm-hmm. It's a great question because people don't want to set deal breakers. They don't want to set boundaries. They want to keep every bridge they've ever had, and they want all these people in their lives. And you've got to really understand the expiration date of many things, and that there are certain people that get you to a certain path, and that's it. Even in your marriages, even in your dating, like there's people that serve a purpose for where you're going, and then the path splits, and you've got to make peace with the fact that the path is going to split at some point, because that person may not be meant for you. And so daily, as I take into account of the people that are in my lives now, and I say, okay, this is what it is. You know, for me, this is who I'm becoming. Can you go where I am going? Because you've been where I've been. I thank you for where I've been, and you needed to be there for me at that time. But where I'm going, I need a person who's going to be able to continue to hold me accountable, who's going to continue to cheer me on. You know, the more that continues to happen for me, I don't want anyone who's envious because it's not happening to their own life, and being mad at me because I keep celebrating. And, you know, and I'm like, well, I can help you, make peace with some stuff and maybe make it happen for you too. But if you're not in my circle with that kind of energy that you can at least maintain my light, then it would be really hard for me to come around. So right now I have established deal breakers, things that I don't want. We often get overshadowed by the things that we want, and we constantly focus on, well, I got it and I got exactly what I want, so that must mean that it's heaven sent. And it's like, but you're not looking at the things that you don't want. Because if you actually look at that, then you might find a red flag, and you might find a deal breaker, and you might find some stuff that doesn't work, but you'll excuse it to keep all the stuff that you want. So if it shows up in 6'5" and a Maserati and this kind of car and this kind of body, oh, that kind of rhymed, didn't it? Okay, look at me rhyming. But if it shows up like that, then you'll focus on that. And then that will be all that it is, because you're like, but I prayed for this. This is what I got. But you got to look at what you don't want. So now what I don't want is what I focus on. So if I don't want to be stressed, if I'm not looking for a certain kind of decompression to not happen in my day, then I make sure that there's boundaries around that. So now I actually have business hours for myself. It's not just business hours for my business, and it's, a 9 to 5 kind of window of time, but you actually need to make business hours for yourself. So stuff where you cut off certain email responses, leave the do not disturb on. Even if you see me online and you're like, I text you. Yeah, I know, but I am in do not disturb mode right now because I am decompressing from my day. And you gotta let me decompress, because there's way too many stories that I hear all day. So if I don't take that time for me now, I recognize the pain that comes from that. And so how do I keep my energy is putting me first. That back burner thing I'm talking about, I've always put me back there. And I've worked and hours and hustled and grind. And it was great to get me here. But now, in order to enjoy what you've earned and to take yourself to the next step, you've actually have to decompress. You actually have to take a break, and you have to honor yourself and preserve you if you're going to make it over the next hump. You just won't if you keep that same mindset. But it does mean that the hustler mode that you created to do exactly what you're doing now is going to run up a little bit, and you're going to have a harvest that you're going to have to actually produce in a similar energy. So you actually need to manage your time differently. So now, to preserve the light and the energy when I walk in the room, is to look at my social meter, to read the gut feeling I have. Intuition is strong. If somebody doesn't feel like whatever, listen to it. Like, that's exactly what's happening now is I'm listening more to the inner version of me, the past stuff that has happened where I've been like, I could have listened. Listen, hear it, because all of that is your subconscious saying, we have felt threatened in the same way before. Why are you not listening to us? We have a meter for you of running, fight or flight, right? We got this, I got you. You are sensing something, and I am telling it to you. So instead of telling your anxiety to shut up, like, listen to it and say, you're present for something. You're trying to protect me from something. What is it? Almost like that. What's that Lassie with the, what is it, boy? What do you hear? Like, you got to listen to that and feel like you're detecting something. Yeah. And then once you feel okay, you say, okay, I'm okay. And so that's actually me preserving my light now, is saying, you feel threatened. Something's wrong. What is it? Are you safe? Do you feel safe in this room? Do you feel safe to continue to stay in this room, to share your mind in this room? And if not, protect yourself by making a slow exit.
Mm. Yep. I hope everybody that's listening to this, when they run this one back, just letting y'all know a lot of gems dropped. And I'm over here like, man, I need to listen to myself more. I need to talk to myself more. Man, you know what? Go look in the mirror after this interview ends and go talk to you. But yeah, no,
Yes.
This is amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for that. Sincerely. I want to get into. No, you know what? No, forget that. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What's your favorite food?
Oh, so now it's salmon.
It continuously changes.
So at the moment, I have chosen to eat vegan, vegetarian life, and the only meat that I eat now, I'm not quite pescatarian because I don't like all seafood anymore,
Right.
but I will eat salmon. And I have had pork has been out of my life for 6 years. Red meat has 5 years. Dairy and chicken is 4 years, and alcohol is 3.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
See, I cut the drinking off for a couple of years, and then I restarted, and now I'm back off again.
It's hard not to go back. I get it. When you finally get it, though, your body's not gonna let you go back. But
yeah, literally. Yeah, now that's my man. That is really amazing. I was gonna say, me and red meat though, I will literally bite a cow. I hate to say it like that, but
how is that?
Yeah,
I was a burger person. You couldn't get me to eat it unless it was dripping through a bag. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I love all of that nasty.
You would say what?
It needs to look through the little brown paper bag, your little spot on the thing, little fries dripping on the side. Like, oh yeah, I was a big foodie, and it just wasn't. Family history. You start to hear people with blood pressure pills and hypertension, and I was like, I want my grandchildren to be able to see me and to work with me and to actually work around me and me not be hospitalized and things. It's just, if I can help it, I'm going to start now. And that's why salmon is I'm like, if eventually I'll probably give up salmon too, but I needed protein. I don't know, a certain kind of way. I was like, veggies ain't doing it for me. But I get to bite the cow. I was biting cows.
Let me tell you something. A good steak. I watch steak videos. That's my. Some people's explore pages be a bunch of on my explore page. You'll see acting, steak videos, and houses, because real estate is real estate has been a real thing on my mind a lot lately.
Love it.
Yeah, but. I wanted to wait. What's on your explore page?
Oof. Well, it is. There are houses on there too. Lots of now that you say that, I get on there and there's always something inspirational or some sort of zodiac something, or there's some sort of food or dancing. Oh, why? I'm like, what am I swiping on?
What am I double tapping to get this?
God, just keep. And then you get recruited into them little green close friend things now, and everybody got an inappropriate DM. I don't care who you are. I don't care what's going on in your life. Everybody's got those inappropriate DMs. I'll never post it. You will never see it. But just know that I'm human, and I got those DMs too. So that's on my explore page too. I'm like, I can't post that, and you can't hit the heart because your name shows up. I'm like, okay.
You can't. Like, no, you know what? I don't want to change my algorithm by double tapping this. I'm gonna just swipe on by.
That's right.
Swipe on by. I wanted to get into sheer.
Sure.
If you don't mind breaking down the acronym for us.
Sure. Sexual health education, esteem, and relationships.
And if I saw it and I said, man, you know what? Okay, you know how people had come up with acronyms, it'd be CARE, and then the person reflects that because they're a caring individual. How does sheer reflect? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? like somebody come up with an acronym for patience, and then like patience will reflect a little bit because the person is patient. Sheer. How does sheer reflect
me?
Yes.
So yeah, that name, I manifested that name through just prayer. And that name actually came to mind. It was something that once it popped up and I Googled it, it did not exist. And I was like, okay, I know where this is coming from because it was divinely given. And I wanted something with esteem. I tried to make esteem work. That was what I wanted, was something that spoke to me through esteem. And I had tried for like 3 years to make the acronym work, and it just wasn't working. I was like, oh, okay. And then one day I just sat there and sheer popped up, and it just so happened to align. And I started Googling. I'm like, okay, this is great. And then the more information that I kept finding out about sexual health and relationships, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. So then when I started the practice, it just so happened to link to how your esteem is connected to what you do with your sexual decisions or how you repair from them, really, in any kind of trauma that you have. And then the relationships that you have, whether they're romantic partnerships, friendships, anything where you're connected to the planet, it is definitely about how you design yourself. And so when I started to figure out that's about me, and then I started seeing clients where it was about them, I was like, oh, this is connected to like everything and everybody. And I had no idea. I did not even think I was going to go in that direction. It was really going to be an organization about building self-esteem only. But then it just so happened to take off. And then everything I've done since then has been in connection to both. And both degrees, actually, well, all degrees, really, they all come together. But the both sides of public health and mental health, they come underneath sheer. And again, ain't nothing but divine, ain't nothing but God, because I did not come up with that by myself. I wish I could take credit, but I was sitting there and the name popped up. And most of it always happens in the bathroom, whether you're in the mirror or you're taking a shower or something's happening. It's bathroom is just a thing for most people. I don't know.
That's literally it.
I don't know what happened, but that's where it came from. I was sitting in the bathroom. I was thinking, I was like, okay, hold on. Did I just hear? Am I tripping? Nah. Yep.
You're not tripping. Honestly, I literally I've created some of my greatest questions while I was standing in the shower, just trying to build. Literally, I've never said that to anybody else, but this is like a thing.
For your disclosure,
I literally best questions ever, right there, standing in the shower.
Yes,
I wanted to ask, because I want to get to the goal of the show, which is philanthropy. Garner support from the audience and putting it towards a charity or nonprofit that you care about. What charity or nonprofit would you like to spotlight today? Give a shout out to, and why is the cause of the face so important to you? I had one just in case. You know what I'm saying? Because I love them so much.
Sure. Who is it that you have in mind?
Girls Who Brunch tour. Girls Who Brunch. I love them. I was honestly connected to Bree through the Girls Who Brunch. I wanted to make sure that I shout them out because they actually, they take care of a bunch of young ladies, not only in the Atlanta area, but all over the U.S. And how do I put this? They've been very instrumental in my life as well. So I felt like this would be a good time to just give them a shout out. Definitely, if you guys have the time, make sure you guys look them up, throw some support behind them.
I love that. I'm going to reach out to the Girls Who Brunch. Just
please do, and tell them that Ezel Moon sent you.
Absolutely. I like brunch, and I'm a girl who brunches.
Hey. I'm a girl who brunches.
We go on tour with y'all.
Let me go on tour. It's funny. I definitely did also want to give a big shout out to the organization of Finding Womanhood, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Gotta give a big shout out to them as well.
Come on, Z-Phi.
You know what I'm saying? Big shout out to y'all.
As an Omega man, I hear you.
Real life Q dogs. Like my whole story, me and my son, we were out as heck today. We were everywhere, just doing all the bruh stuff. Random question: what's your line name?
Optimistic. I am a Deuce Club, Spring '07. Hey.
I was gonna ask, how'd you get optimistic? Is it a good story, or should I just let that one?
Oh yeah, no, it's good. I was constantly the person that was online who had the open mind.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was actually funny enough. That ties into my final question.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we like to close, it's traditionally to close with words of wisdom for the next generation. So my question to you is this. What words of wisdom would you have for someone who is not, within a growth mindset and they're currently closed off to, growing as an individual?
Well, full kind of back step just a little bit. Mental health and domestic violence charities, I will say, if you can look them up, then make sure that you support them. And there's plenty in Georgia. There's plenty in Atlanta. Laura's House is a really good one for domestic violence. And then anything that was created under Bobby Christina or Taraji P. Henson, definitely going to support those two as well. And so I will say that. And that for a person who's not interested or not sure or just scared for a growth mindset and it impacts those areas, then I definitely hope to be able to speak to you personally, or that you do read the book, because the book Empowering the Broken will help you through that, understanding your mental health and domestic violence connection, or how many individuals that you've met that didn't even know that they were in one, because we play like that, or that's just history and we never talk about it in our families to be able to identify it. So the words of wisdom that I'll give that kind of just help us all understand who we are, where we're going. And I'll go reiterate back to grief and loss of self. And if you actually make peace with who you are right now, if you actually love yourself at your baseline, and if you've actually made peace with the things that you're actually accountable for, not necessarily the things that have happened to you, but the things that have happened for you, and all of the different ways that it has helped to grow you. And so when you are in a place of trying to figure out how to heal, ask yourself if you're becoming the best version of yourself because of what you want to do, not the expectations of other people, not the potential that someone else has in their head about you, but if you've actually made peace about where you're going and what you want for yourself. And so if you haven't actually made peace with that yet, it's going to be very hard to want to heal it, because you have to forgive you first before anyone else. And you have to be able to say, there are things that I didn't have the resources for at the time that certain things happened. And if I make peace with the fact that a lot of the stuff wasn't really my fault based upon stuff that I didn't have, then it's going to be very helpful to move towards healing. And so any other messages that you may not know how to move through, you can find those on my Instagram page as well. And I definitely walk people through how to move forward through healing and figuring out where to start, because you just start. There isn't really a big formula to it. You just say, hey, I don't want to do that thing anymore, and I want to learn more about this, and why do I do that? And being able to know why you hold on to certain beliefs and what triggers those beliefs and the shoulds that you keep, slapping your hand and saying, I need to be doing it like this, then it's going to cause certain consequences, and it's going to help you ruminate bad thoughts. And so if you get a chance to figure out why you ruminate certain beliefs, it's going to start your healing process. Best advice I can give you.
How can we follow you? How can we support you? What can we do? Where can we find the podcast? Let them know.
Excellent information. So at Sinclair, where are we at? Boom, right there. So at Sinclair James, I respond the most when it comes to how to move forward with different questions that you might ask on the podcast is where you'll find that. And you can also find a link tree that's on there. But Sheer LLC is my website. That's sheerllc.com. Every single thing is on there. The podcast is also linked directly on there. So if you aren't really streaming through Spotify or Apple Music or any of that, they're everywhere. So if you just type it in, you'll find it. But you'll also be able to see me on any of the platforms. And I hope to start a TikTok. I've been told I need one. I keep hearing that I need one. And so you will see that I have one started, but I haven't made any posts, any suggestions that you have about how to help me do that, I am here for it, because I want to spread and be able to do things with not only the book, and that is, again, Empowering the Broken. And though it is out for pre-order right now through the website, it will be released in the next few days on Amazon, and then hopefully continue to spread through all the other different outlets that you can find it. And so it's Sinclair James, SheerLLC.com. Even Me is the podcast name, and Empowering the Broken is the name of the book.
Awesome. For those who don't know, I'm Ezel Moon. You can follow me at Ezel Moon _. And I actually have books as well, but they're children's books for the kids.
Oh, yeah, come on, for the kids.
You know what I'm saying? Go to Amazon.com, type in Ezel Moon and Purple Mike. I promise you, I'm the first person to pop up because I'm the only one. I'm the only Ezel Moon. Yay!
Yay!
But definitely, thank you so much, for your time, your energy, your efforts, for being here this evening. You are absolutely amazing, and I'm honestly speaking nothing but life, peace, and blessings over you as you continue to move forward down your path. And I hope to actually do an in-person interview with you at some point in time in the future, because you're just amazing. So,
Thank you. I would love that. I'm speaking that into the future already. It's happening.
Yes. All right,
yes.
cool.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for your time as well.
Wow. I'm Ezel Moon. I'm not doing it unless it's fun and it helps people. This has been a frank conversation. Peace.